Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create the Raggedy Chains bracelet. This is my larger version of the Circle of Waves bracelet I did a while back. The total number of bands for this bracelet is a lot. It's 294. And I do just want to give a quick thank you to Keith is Looming Mad on Instagram for choosing the name for this. I really do appreciate it. I always struggle with names, and he recommended that name a while back, so I'm glad to use it today. But as far as the breakdown of the bracelet, you will need 56 of the side border white color, 50 of the middle white X's, 94 of the blue, you'll need 48 of the green, and 46 of the pink. So this is the color pattern that I'm doing today. I will have all that linked down below. But again, if you do use a different color combination or pattern, then that breakdown is going to change a little bit. But the total number is still 294. I'm not going to ramble on too much because this bracelet does take a little bit longer. So let's get our bands ready and we can get started. To make this bracelet, you need to have at least 6 bar pins. I have mine set up with the 2 middle ones aligned, and then the 2 on the sides are going downwards. So if you have one loom and you're looking at it, one side should look like this, the left side. It's going on an angle. If you have your regular loom set up, which looks like this, you're just going to remove this right bar pin and bring it back 1 space. And then with your second loom, you'll do the same thing, except you'll do it to the left bar pin. And then you will just put them both side by side, but connect them together. And that's how you will do that setup. And then of course you would need to, if you're using more than 2 looms, then you would need to attach the long blue base right here at the end and connect your other set. If you only have 6, then that is what you would do. You just would want to move these bases around to make sure everything's nice and tight. But I just wanted to give you a quick tip in case you're not sure where to start or how to get that setup done. So now we can continue on with the video. So the first bands that you're going to decide on are going to be the border color, and that is the white here for me. I'm going to use that same color. So we're just going to grab one to start off, and we're going to lay it across the very 2 center ones for when we close it later on. And if I didn't say so already, make sure you do have 1 C-clip for when we close it. You might even want to have 2 if you have enough of them. It just gives it a more secure close. So after you lay that, we're going to be going up the left and then up the right. So I'll actually just go up the right first. And we are just going to go all the way up the right side. If you are using only 1 set of the 6 bar pins, you're going to lay 11 of the, counting from this corner here, you're going to lay 11 straight bands before you then bring it in to close it. But if you're using 2 sets like I am, then we are going to go down 23 pins before we bring it in. So this is the last one that I'm laying. That should be the 23rd one if you're counting from the, if you're just counting the ones that are laid straight, not the diagonal ones. And there's 2 empty pins here. So now we're going to bring it in, but we're not going to do the diagonals twice like we normally would. We're only going to lay 1. And then we're going to keep that other band to the side for later. We have to lay some more bands before we actually finish that closure. So it looks like that for right now. And then you'll do the same exact thing on the left side. We'll lay our diagonals. And then we'll go straight up the left side. And you're just mirroring exactly what we did on the right. After laying that one, you will do the same thing on the right and bring it in once. Remember, do not lay that other one. We will do that later on. So this is what your loom should look like, whether you're using one set of 6 or if you're using all 12. It should be coming in like that. So take a second, go ahead and push those down. Actually, you don't need to push them down yet. Let's lay the center and then we can do that. So now you are going to decide what color you want to use for the center. And that is the white X's on this bracelet. I like to always match the middle X's with the border. I did that on all of my bracelets and I just think it looks better because there's already a lot going on. So I'm going to do the same today and I'm going to just stick with white. And we are just going to lay X's running all the way up the center. So you'll have one diagonally going towards the right and one going towards the left. And then you'll just keep doing that all the way up. Glad that band broke now and not later. It's the only thing about these thinner bands. They break easy. So when you get down towards the end, you might be wondering where you're going to stop. You're actually going to come to the very end. So you will not stop here. You're going to come to the very end of that row. Whether you're using one set or 2, bring it all the way down until you can lay no more. And now you will want to grab those bands that I had you sit to the side before, and we are going to now connect this and finish closing off the border. So you're just going to connect that diagonal to the X there and do the same on the left. Just like that. So now we're going to go through and push everything down, the X's and the border, and then I will come back and show you what we're going to do next. Okay, so now we are going to decide whatever color you want to use where my blue is. We're going to be laying a bottom set of zigzag bands and then a top layer. So for this version, I am going to be using one color for the bottom layer. Again, that's where the blue is. And I'm just going to use this turquoise Caribbean type of color. And we're going to start on this pin. So if you're at the middle here, just go over one pin. And you are going to bring that diagonally in towards the left. And I'm just going to work on the right side instead of going back and forth. It's just easier. So from there, we're now going to go up and diagonal to the right. Now, if you wanted to do a color scheme like this one, where each row changes colors, then every zigzag, you'll alternate a color. So the one going to the left will be one color, and then the ones that we just laid going to the right will be another color. And now we're going to go back to the left, so you would go back to your first color if you want a pattern like this. So go 2 diagonally to the left. Now we'll go back to the right, back to the left. And again, for that other pattern, you just, every row, you just change your color. There's a lot of possibilities with this design, just like the circle of waves. You could change each V to be a different color and alternate just those instead of the whole zigzag. I've done so many different ones, to be honest, so you could definitely play around with it. I am going to, and instead of using just one color for the top, I am going to use 2 colors just to give it a little bit more color, which is this version. I really like that version. So you will do these zigzags all the way up the loom until you cannot lay any more. You will not lay any on top of the border. So once you reach the end, you will stop. So my last diagonal goes to the right, just like that. You don't lay one going on top of the border, so that's what it should look like. And then we are going to mirror that and do the same exact thing on the left side. So you're going to come to the second pin here, and now this will go diagonally into the right. We're basically doing everything on this side but backwards. Now we'll come out to the left twice, back to the right, and continue alternating. And that was my last zigzag for the left side. So take a second and push all of those down, and then we will lay the top layer. Alrighty, so the top layer, I'm going to alternate between two colors. As you can see, the green in here and the pink up here. I'm going to use blue and orange. And where my pink is, I'm going to use blue, and then I'll use orange in the center. So you're going to start right here on the very corner of your looms. I'm going to work on the right side first. This design, it's just easier to work up one side. So we're going to lay one diagonal going in, and then we're going to switch colors. So I'm going to go to my second one. So this orange is going to be where the green is here in the center. You're going to lay that diagonally in, and now we start to do the zag going the other way, but I'm still going to use orange like that. So for the start of it, I had to only lay one, but for now on, I'm going to be laying two of the same color. So it will be a V, and then going up here, I'll have a V in blue, and then V in orange, so on and so forth for my pattern. If you're doing this one, or this one rather, with the two rows, then your entire diagonal row right here should be one color, but it should not be the color that is underneath of it, because you still are using the same two colors that you used in the first row, but for the first set of zigzag, you want that to be whatever color you have right here on your bottom row. You do not want that X to be the same color if you want this pattern. If you want this pattern, then that X can match. And what I mean by the X is looking at the bottom row of bands, it's going diagonal to the right, and then the one that you just laid going up to the left. If you have that X match with the same color, you'll get this type of pattern. If you use your second color first, you'll get this pattern. So I'm really trying not to overcomplicate things. I'm just trying to give you guys a couple different options. So back to the way that I'm doing it. So I did my blue, now my orange. I'm going to go back to my blue. So I'll go up to the right. And then I'll be bringing my zigzag back in, but still using blue. Go back to my orange. So this definitely takes a little more time using the two colors, but I really like it. And then of course I forgot to mention, you can just use one whole color for the top as well, and it's still just as beautiful, and you get this pattern. I had blue all on the bottom and pink all on top, so you can certainly do that too. So I'm just going to be alternating little sideway V's with my colors here all the way up until I cannot lay any more. this is what it's looking like for the color pattern that I'm doing. So I just laid my last V or zigzag, and that is what it looks like. So the last one should connect to the top of the border. And just like the other steps, we're going to repeat this on the left. So just make sure that you're grabbing the correct color to start with, like I did on this side. So I started with blue, so I will start blue right here on the corner. Lay that diagonally into the left, into the right. And then I'll go to my orange. And we will do the same steps on the other, like we did on the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and continue getting the rest of my top layer laid, and I will meet you here when I reach the top. So I did get done laying mine, and I did go through and push down all of my band some, so you might want to take a second to do that too. It just helps when looping. And then you're going to turn the loom around so that the openings are now facing you. You're going to grab one more border color, which is white for me. And we're going to place a cap band on these two center pins. But I find it easier to just place it on one first, and then we'll stretch it over. So I place it on the right. Doesn't matter which one of the two you lay it on. I place it there, and then grab your hook, and you'll just stretch the entire cap band over to the other pin, like so. And now we're going to start looping. So we're first going to go into this right pin here, push the cap band out of the way, grab the top band that's in there, and that will go diagonally to the right. And then we'll do the same thing on the left side. So the top band will go back to itself, which is to the left. So now we are going to loop the diagonal orange, and they're just going to go into the center. So go into this pin right here, grab the top band, and bring it in. Now this band is only wrapping around one part of that white band, so just be careful, you don't want to lose it. Repeat it on the left, bring it into the center. Now we're going to loop up the center X. So you want to loop the bottom X band first. So if you did not lay them in the same order that I did, make sure you're grabbing whichever one of those two X bands is on the bottom. My bottom one is the left one. So I'm going to go into this pin, and this is going to cross over to the right. And then we'll go into the right pin, and that one will connect to the left. So now we're going to loop the diagonal bands right here that are going up. This first one is the trickiest, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Maybe there's not a lot of tension, but we're just going to go inside this pin here, and there's two bands that you have to move in order to grab that one. So push two out of the way, grab the third one. It will be your diagonal orange. Bring it back to itself, which is to the right. Go in that pin, and now grab the blue and bring that back to itself, which is diagonal to the right. Like so. We're going to do the same thing on the left side. So push the top two orange out of the way, grab the third band, bring it back to itself, and repeat with the blue. Now from here, if you did my circle of waves, you will recognize this step. After we loop those diagonals, we have to come to the center pin, and out of these two bands that are right here, we need to grab the top one. So it's this one right here. And you need to pull it over the pin and sit it in front of it. Come to this pin and we'll do the same thing. So there's two bands back here. You're just grabbing the top one, flipping it over the pin and sitting it in front of it. Now we're actually going to come back down here and loop up this white diagonal border. Repeat it on the left. There is a lot of steps with this bracelet, but once you start doing it over and over, it gets easier. Don't get overwhelmed. Just take your time, follow along. I think you guys can all successfully make this bracelet. So after we do that, we are now going to loop this diagonal. So we basically, if you're looking at the loom, you're always working with like an X shape at a time. So if I cover this, you can see the X right there. At least that's how I look at it in my mind. So we're going to go in this right pin right here where we just looped the white border. Move that border out of the way and grab your diagonal band and bring it in. And now we need to grab that remaining orange band that's on that pin right here. And you're going to flip that over just like we did the first one and sit it in front of the pin like that. Now go back in here, push everything out of the way, grab the very bottom band and bring it in. We'll repeat that step on the left side. So you'll bring your diagonal band in. You will grab the orange single band that's left here and flip it over the pin. Go in that pin, move everything out of the way to grab the very bottom and bring that into itself. Like so. So we need to actually back up now. This is where we just finished looping. We're going to back up and we need to flip over two more bands. So if you're looking at these two pins here, the orange, this is probably the trickiest part of this bracelet, by the way. We need to flip over the bottom band. These orange bands here, we need to grab the bottom band, but we need to do it by going inside the white X band. So it is tricky, I'm not going to lie. You need to use your hook and push back the top of that X band like this. You're going to push in there and grab just the bottom of that orange band. And then you're going to flip it over the pin and let it go. I'll show you on the left side because I know it is tricky. So you need to use your hook to kind of push that top border out of, or X, excuse me, out of the way. And then grab the very bottom orange band and flip it over, or whatever color you used there. Now, that first one is the trickiest. It's not quite as tricky on the other ones, but it still is a trickier step. And I will continue, excuse me, I will continue showing you that in case you're not exactly sure what I did, so just keep watching. After flipping that, we're going to go in those pins and loop the X bands up. So I always start on the left pin. Grab the very bottom band that's on there, and that will be your diagonal X band, so bring that up to the right. And then go in, and the right one will cross to the left. We'll now come over and do our border. So we will bring the right border up and the left border up. Like so. And now we're going to start our next section. So, if you're looking at the loom, we're only looking at this X right here. And out of that X, you need to find which layer is sitting on top. And you can see my orange and blue is on top. That means that is the first layer that I want to loop. So we'll be alternating starting from the outside and looming in. And then on the next row, I'll be starting on the inside, looming out. But I just want you to know that's how you can tell where you're starting. You always want to look for which layer is on top. So you can see my turquoise is on the bottom here, and my orange and blue is on top. So I know I need to start right here. So hopefully that didn't confuse you guys, but we are going to start by bringing these bands in. So push the top layer. I believe there's 2 bands in there that you have to move, and then you're going to grab your diagonal band, bring it to itself, go back in that pin and bring the next one in. Repeat on the left. And now we need to back up a pin and flip the top band on each one of those. So it's these bands right here. You're just grabbing the very top, flipping it over and sitting it in front of the pin. Come to this one here. Grab the top one, flip it over towards yourself. Now we'll come in here and we'll loop the bottom layer, and it will now cross the one that we just looped. So there's 2 bands in there that you have to move in order to grab the third one, which will be that diagonal. So you loop that over, and now you have to grab the remaining blue band that's back here and flip that over. Go inside that pin. You have a lot to push out of the way for this one. And grab the very bottom band that is on that pin and bring it in. Or out, rather. We'll come right here and do the same thing on this side. You're grabbing the third band that's in there. Bring it back to itself. Grab this blue band that's sitting back here. Flip it over. Go in that pin and grab the very bottom band and bring it out. Like so. So we'll come back to the middle, and this is where we have to do that tricky step. And we need to loop the bottom band that's in between those X bands. So this time the color is this turquoise color. So I need to get this top layer out of the way in order to grab, oh, I'm going blurry, in order to grab the second turquoise color in there. It's the bottom turquoise color. And flip that over the pin. So looking from this side, you can see, try to use my nail, the 2 bands right there. We need to grab the bottom one. If you have an easier way of getting to that, by all means you can do that. But the only way I found is by moving this band out of the way with my hook and then grabbing the bottom and then pulling it over. So now we're going to go into those same pins and loop the X up. So I always start on the left. It's the bottom band in that pin, and you cross it diagonally to the right. And then the one on the right, you cross diagonally to the left. And now we need to do our borders, and this time it's going to be a little bit different. So I'll show you on the right side here. We have the top of our border, and then we have the 2 blue bands here. Those 2 bands, we are going to flip over the pin. So you're just going to go in there, just like this. Grab both of those bands and flip it over and release. We're going to do the same thing on the left side. See, just going in between the 2 white bands to grab these 2 right here. And just flip it over and release. Now, I did make a version where I only flipped the bottom band and not both. And this is what it looks like. You can see the difference right here. So this one I flipped both of them, which is what we're doing in the tutorial. This one I only flipped 1. So if you want to do this version, you're only going to grab the bottom band that was on there, not both. That's up to you. So now we need to loop the border up. Now that we have that flipped over, we're just going to go in the side pin here and grab the very bottom border band and pull it forward. And then do the same on the left side. Bring that border forward. And now that whole section is complete. So we're going to come up to our next section. So I am looking only at this X right here and this X right here. I don't look any further than that. I look at that section, and my first thought is, which layer is on top? It's my orange and blue now going in this direction. So I know I need to start from the inside now. So we'll start from the inner pins and bring both of those back to themselves, like so. Do the same on the left side. You're going to back up, and we need to flip the top band over the pin. We're going to come to the outer pins here, and now we need to cross back in the opposite direction. So loop your diagonal band in, and then we need to flip this, bring it over the pin, and then you can bring the bottom band in to complete that diagonal loop. Now we'll do the same on the left. We'll bring it in. Don't forget to flip this single band over, and then complete your diagonal. We're going to back up here, and we're going to flip the bottom band that's inside those white X's. So I'm just going under this X band right here and grabbing the bottom band right here. Let me zoom in a little. Right here. And you're just going to pull it out. And then once you're out far enough, just bring it over and release. Do the same thing on this side. Trying to get a good angle for you. So I'm just reaching in. You can see that this one's easier than the first one was. And release. Once you do that, we'll go inside those same pins and we will loop up our X. So push everything out of the way. Grab your bottom X band and loop those out. We need to come over now to our borders again. And now every time we do the borders now, we always have to pay attention to these bands here. Before we loop the white border band up, we need to go in between these two, grab these two bands and flip it up and over. Come on the left, go inside, grab them both, flip it up and over. Now we can loop the border bands up. So I wanted to show you, I keep losing my voice, sorry. I wanted to show you guys the process 2 times or so, so you know what it is that we're doing. Now that you know what we're doing, I am going to show you a little bit of a different way, or order, I should say, a different order of doing it. I find it easier. So I'm going to do that right now, and then you guys can decide if you want to keep doing it that way, or you can do it this way. So obviously the looping is all the same. I just do things in a little bit of a different order. So from here, we are going to look at our X bands, determine which layer's on top. It is now going in this way. So I need to start out here. So we will repeat this as normal. I'm going to bring this in and bring this in again. I'm going to back up and flip this over. And instead of coming over here and repeating that, I am going to do this whole X section first. Basically, everything that I can do on the right side, I'm going to do now. So I flipped that over. I'm going to come here, grab the bottom. Well, it's the bottom diagonal band. Bring it in. Flip your band over it. Go inside that pin, grab the bottom. Finish looping that diagonal out. I'm going to back up a pin and I'm going to loop the border. So before we loop the border, we need to grab these 2 bands in here and flip them over. Go back in that pin and loop up the border. So we did that whole X section now, all apart from the center. So we'll come over here and we'll do the same thing. So we will loop our diagonals going inwards. Back up a pin and flip your top band over the pin. And now we will go in the opposite direction. Loop your diagonal out, flip the remaining band over and loop it out again. we will back up and flip our middle border band over and then loop your border up. So I find that easier, like sticking to one side at a time. And now we would do the centers. The center X part where we flip the bottom band right here. Well, the bottom band of the two turquoise. Like so. We'll go in those same pins and loop up our diagonal X band. And that basically finishes that entire section off. And then we would start the next section. So I find if you feel like it's a lot of steps and confusing, I feel like this way is easier. So I am going to continue doing it this way. So we're on our next level, or section. And I'm going to start right here because this is the layer that is on top. So I'm going to bring that out. Whoop, I almost went back to the other side. We're going to flip this over. Cross this. Flip it. Come over here. We will flip our side bands over and then loop the border. And now we'll go to the left and do the same thing. So I will loop this out. Do our cross bands, go in the opposite way. Flip the top band over. Continue bringing that in. We'll do our side now. So we need to flip these over. Loop up the bottom border. And now they're all done and we can go to the center. Remember, in the center, you have to go in here and flip the middle bottom band. And now loop up your X. So I apologize if you feel like if I just over explained all that, but I just find that this one is a little tricky. Maybe because there's a lot of steps, but I feel like I definitely explained it a lot. So now I'm just going to loom and you guys can certainly continue following along. Sorry about turning my loom constantly, but if my hand gets too close to the camera, it blurs it and you won't be able to see what I'm doing. So unfortunately, I have to do that. And if any of you are still having trouble after I've explained everything in the video, you can always comment down below and I am happy to help any way that I can. Don't forget to loop the bottom band in between your X's after you do your borders. Once I get to the middle, like about here, the middle of my loom, I am going to speed up the video and kind of fast forward it so it goes by a little bit quicker. But I like to at least do regular speed for half of the loom length, just to give you guys enough repetition of me doing it in case, you know, you didn't catch on at first. It gives you plenty of time to see me do it over and over again. Okay, so I know I said I was going to just speed up the loom work, but this is much trickier design, especially the left side, trying to do it on camera. So I'm actually going to hop off camera to finish the little bit that I do have left, and then I will come back and show you how to finish the top off and close it off. So just continue watching the previous instructions if you have any problems, and I'll be right back when mine is finished. Okay, so I am way ahead of you guys, so certainly hit that pause button until you are at the top of your loom, and then we can finish the top off together. So I am done everything besides this section right here, these two diagonals at the end and the middle. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go in here and loop that diagonal out, just like we would start our previous sections. Like that. And now we're going to go straight into flipping that band in the middle over. And now we're going to come over to the side and loop our, actually no, I'm sorry, we got to loop our X up. Don't forget to loop that X up like I almost did. So we grab the bottom band in that pin, loop up your X. And now we will finish by just looping up the borders. So there's no more flipping over. This blue one here does not get flipped, so make sure you leave that on the pin. And we'll just continue grabbing the very bottom border band and bringing it in and repeat on the left. Like so. And you're going to want to get your C-clip handy. We're going to go inside these two center pins to grab the bottom band. We laid that at the beginning for when we close it up. And we're just going to bring both ends together to close it up. Like I said before, I do recommend using 2 C-clips. You can attach them both now and then fiddle with it to get one facing the opposite direction, or you can connect the second one after it's off. The only thing I recommend is I do hold it like this until I at least get the top removed with my hook. I just always worry that it's going to fall apart, and I don't want to waste all that time. So I do that. With this design, depending on the bands, you can pull up and you kind of have to shake it left to right. So there it is off of the loom. I think it came out gorgeous. I actually am obsessed with these colors. So the only thing I do is pull it a little bit left to right, just to help these middle bands. Sometimes they get a little bit jumbled together. Other than that, just stretch it out a little bit to help the bands fall into place. And then you'll just connect your C-clip and your cat band. You can also grab another C-clip for extra protection from opening or breaking. And you can face that C-clip facing down. So attach it to the cat band and then in here where the other one is. So that is it. That is my Raggedy Chain bracelet. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a long one, but I think it's nice to switch it up sometimes and have a bigger design. And I really love it. So I hope you guys do too. And if you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button down below. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, you can also do that by hitting the subscribe button down below as well. I would greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to send me any pictures on Instagram under Loves to Loom. I really do enjoy seeing all of your renditions. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon at my next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.